Oh my goodness, it's time. Welcome back to Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC. And there are still 10 horses, or video game teams full of 5 human beings, but we can call them horses just so you're all on the same page. There is going to be a race for playoffs, and in the end, only 6 will remain. And today will give us a fantastic indication of what exactly we have to look forward to. One thing I thought I was looking forward to would be Ender's outfit, but not something to be looked forward to. It's Berlin!
How can you do that?
Is this the tower thingy?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. It's not
cool.
as weird as I thought it was.
It's like
cool.
a whole Miami Vice kind of vibe
It's kind
we
of
got
cool.
going over here.
I'm glad you joined us, Ender. I thought at one point I didn't think you'd show up today.
I got here 1 second before we went live.
It was truly like a photo finish. But Frosk, as always, a figure of maturity and professionalism. You were here and dressed in appropriate attire, so it's good to have you. Let's start with you. So let's start by talking a little bit about Mad Lions and Rogue. Both locked into the playoffs. That's exciting.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, Mad Lions and Rogue, reminder to everyone that they also have the opportunity to auto-qualify themselves for Worlds. Mad Lions, I think, have a slight advantage over Rogue in this just because of how things will play out, but we'll cover that more later on in the show. But reminder, it is actually very important for Mad Lions if they finish first in the regular split, because we have 4 spots for Worlds, and the lowest that they could possibly get is 4th, so it would mean, ta-da, Worlds for Mad Lions.
Yeah, and right now it is looking so good for both of these teams. Mad Lions, of course, have been on an absolute tear, but Rogue yesterday dismantled Fnatic, absolutely owned them. Larson looked like the best player on the entire game. Like, it wasn't even close. There's this giant gap between him and Fnatic, and they looked foolish. Yeah,
and I mean, to see that gap starting to form, it's only getting worse and worse, and it's crunch time. Week 7, day 2. They face each other next Saturday in our match of the week, and that is one I think many are excited for. And let's not forget as well, week 8 being a super week. So correct me if I'm wrong, 1 extra day? Like,
yeah, 3 days, 3 games instead of your regular 2, sure. So 150% of the usual League of Legends.
Okay, percentages. Well, it is going to get a bit mathematical. The things Trevor's been saying to me today have been really overwhelming.
He just always says random numbers.
His stats
just
don't actually matter.
Ignore him.
In one ear, out the other.
Like, I walk in and he's like, Alex, you really need to know this. 1 million possibilities. And I'm like, this is...
And Alex, remember, we have 1 million playoffs possibilities, but every single time a game is played, it halves?
Yeah, something like that. We're stealing his thunder. He's doing it later. Oh, he's actually crying. No, Trevor, it's gonna be okay. Yesterday's winners, Schalke and Misfits, are back in the playoffs race. And so, right, I actually need some help here. I'm usually quite good at reading social cues, but the Schalke winning Worlds, Schalke to playoffs, how much of this is a bucket of salt?
So right now, Schalke winning Worlds, it's a bit of a meme
of course.
At the time being, but hey, they haven't lost in the last 3 games. Who's to say they're ever gonna lose again?
So in seriousness, I think what's really interesting is we might actually be looking at a team. I would say that Schalke are easily a top 5, top 6 team. Like, the problem is that they had such an abysmal start to their split that we may actually see a squad that should be in playoffs just based on the strength of their team, but won't qualify because they put themselves at such a massive disadvantage. Whereas these guys on your screen, Misfits, I think are kind of one of the prime categories that Schalke could have taken out for playoffs, but because they had a more consistent, holistic summer season, they might grab the spot.
And they also made a big change yesterday, bringing in Denik as opposed to Dawson. While I don't think it was the reunion that everyone was looking forward to, there was a little bit of shakiness there.
Right.
I still think Misfits got what they wanted. They wanted a win. They need wins. They just need a couple of those to make sure they get into playoffs.
A less convincing win from you in your say, and more convinced by Gilius than that of the re-arrival of Denik.
On fire.
Happy with him?
Yes.
Happy with
If only
God
Misfits
Gilius.
could start Gilius in support.
Yeah, if only we could just find 5 of him. Let's get cloning. While the LEC is closing, not cloning, in on the playoffs, the LCK still has 3 weeks left of play. And for our international check-in, none other than FLICKR Sjokz as a special guest.
Thank you very much. I have a very special guest with me. It's Ashley Kang, one of our best reporters in the scene with Horizon, who gives us a lot of LCK content, but also a lot of LEC content as of late. Thank you so much for joining me, Ashley.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Well, of course, I want to pick your brain about the LCK. We're going to get a graphic up that's also going to show kind of the rankings for now. But we have DRX, Damwon, and Gen G at 1, 2, and 3 respectively. But I especially want to talk about Damwon. We've heard for so long about them being the scrim gods. It was said by all the teams, also our teams at Worlds last year as well. But then it never really materialized. What can you tell me about this Damwon? Because it looks like they are really showing up.
So Diamond Gaming is currently the second place in the LCK, but many people will rate them as the most strongest team in the LCK, especially after they pretty much stomped DRX on a 2-0 recently. And it's so good to see this grim Damwon narrative finally coming to a close. Like, in 2018, 2019, Worlds offseason, everyone was talking about, hey, this team from LCK called Diamond Gaming is going like 9-1 win ratio on scrims, but it actually feels like that mythos of Diamond Gaming is stepping onto the stage. And I think it's a lot of many things. The players who's almost been playing together since Challenger's career are finally feeling confident to play on the stage. They found the meta and they made the meta work for their own picks and strengths. And I would also comment out on the addition of Ghost into the roster before this year's summer split until the spring split. Nuclear was the AD carry who was rated as like a solid AD carry, but not one of the top tiers. And I think Ghost has been like an upgrade for Diamond Gaming for many ways. He's also a great shot caller. So now Diamond Gaming has, a strong bot lane, support that can roam, and an AD carry that can hold off the bot lane. An amazing mid laner, a spectacular top laner. So this finally evolved into a team that can carry on all lanes. So I think that's been another evolution of Diamond Gaming.
Oh, thank you so much for that in-depth explanation. They do look insanely good, and it's quite scary actually. Also, just kind of just looking towards Worlds a little bit, looking towards kind of the LCK playoffs as well as Worlds that's on the horizon. Regardless of how the standings are right now, who would be your top 3 picks for the teams that will do the best in playoffs and would be good candidates coming out of the LCK going into Worlds?
So I love the extra aggression and openness to skirmish that the top teams in the LCK have been adopting, and those are the teams that are performing really well at the moment. So Diamond Gaming, DRX, and Gen G, and both look extremely solid, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them going to Worlds because LCK, unfortunately, unlike the LEC, only has 3 seeds to Worlds. But you also really cross on T1, in any way. Like, I think everyone would agree that T1 is going through a bit of a slump at the moment, but I wouldn't also be surprised if T1 suddenly picks it up and the FLICKR playoffs buff kicks in and they do somehow secure the 2nd or 3rd seed for the LCK.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that happen in the past, of course. I like what I hear, the aggression, and it seems like you have, I wouldn't say newfound faith, because you always have faith in the LCK, of course, but a lot of hope that this is going to be a good year at Worlds. And we get a lot of Western media, of course, and Western Reddit commenters and whatnot, but I'd love to know what the Korean community thinks about the level of the LCK right now and their chances going forward.
I think the LCK dropped a lot of hubris from last year, from the 2019 MSI from 2019 Worlds, but especially at the MSC. And I think there was a big wake-up call for the fans, for the teams, as, only one team out of the LCK made it to the semifinals against the Chinese, the LPL teams, and that team got completely stumped against top esports. So despite the fact that LCK looking like a newer version of themselves, I would say the overall consensus from the LCK team fans are quite tentative at the moment. Let's see how the Worlds goes.
I mean, yeah,
that's the narrative.
Let's see how it goes, but it's looking hopeful. Thank you so much for letting us know all about the LCK, Ashley. And if I may...
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. If I may, also for everyone watching, Ashley does not only put up content about the LCK, but also some fantastic LEC interviews. So you should drop by. But for now, back over to you.
Fantastic. Some awesome insight into the LCK. And I mean, from the LCK, no stranger to Worlds themselves. In fact, we are getting closer to Worlds. And it's worth mentioning that it has been announced will be taking place in Shanghai between the 25th of September and the 31st of October. So I'm afraid, Ender, you've got your Halloween costume on way too early.
Oh my, come on.
Okay, that was the last one.
Do me
that
like
was the last one. That was, I'll stop.
Frost picked out my outfit today. I'll have you know.
Don't make me be nasty to Frost. I really like what she's wearing today.
You know what? I knew I was going to stand next to him.
Of course, it's like the cheerleader effect. You've made sure you've surrounded yourself by uglier friends. It makes perfect sense.
No, you keep your social distance.
We're actually hurting him.
You keep your social distance.
The LCK. Hey guys, hi. I'm going to do my job. You keep touching each other. The LCK has seen a change of the old guard, and the same is happening in the LEC. Later tonight, former Titans G2 and Fnatic face off in our match of the week.
For years, European League of Legends has been about Fnatic and G2. They've carried European hopes and dreams across countless international tournaments. Back-to-back World Finals, an MSI trophy. This is what peak League of Legends looked like. One of these teams has always dominated domestically, but this summer has been different.
Reckless tries to dive in the exhaust, but here's the Hero's entrance, and Reckless has to cleanse and QSS to try and get out of there, but he's going to be the last one standing as Reckless versus the world.
I think the Fnatic look pretty bad right now, and they have a lot of work to be done to be able to challenge the top spots once again.
Everyone in the team wants to be the guy that basically carries us out of this slump and into playoffs. I think it's just about like how you work together, and that's what we have to realize, and that's what we have to work on.
Either we're gonna stomp enemies or we're gonna look like clowns.
Look at that damage, that's what you want from your Origen, and it's finally paying off. Reckless running for the hills, and Fnatic give Frapping a Baron just like that. Flash across the board, one that goes forward, Perks with the crescendo, with the clean roam, gets hooked! He's just too far forward, now he's gonna put some damage over to the dreams, but the Emperor survived from Abadage!
My faith in G2 is like rapidly declining.
Right now we're getting humbled a bit. We're like in the middle of the pack, so now we're like, can't really be cocky.
Comes out, that hits it wide, you can burst it, you can burst it, you can burst it right now, Cass has to do it! Oh, Cass gets it! The Temper Fate, the combo!
I don't really think much about not making playoffs. We are a strong enough team that should never happen.
I'm just honestly tired of losing to G2. It feels like it hurts more than it should. I wish in a way it was just another loss and I could move on with my life, but against G2 it just always hurts too much. Anything but winning this split would be unacceptable for me.
They're basically the only remaining rivalry in all the major regions. So many teams have fallen off or they fail to live up to the hype and continue to meet each other. But G2 and Fnatic is almost a surety to always be in the finals.
Fnatic and G2 just had the wrong approach coming into the split. Based on our experience at the finals, I think it's time for us to like recalibrate and try to get them into the right direction from here.
It's no longer just about G2 versus Fnatic. Their rivalry eclipsed by something more crucial, making it to playoffs. No crowds to cheer them on, no energy and passion to pull from but their own. Now the clock is ticking, and they've started to return to form. But with 5 games left, it would be too little, too late.
We were kind of trying out a bunch of different things, and it didn't really work out too well for us. We just need to find the right champions for us, and we just need to find the right play style.
Oh no, nothing left for the Aphelios. Shut down, taken out, give him the triple, give him the quadra, Perks, an absolute monster. Curses for Origen, Newton for the first on the menu. He's sliding those shots around the Outbury. Coming in from Finn Larson, almost taken out by Jankos, the Dawning Shadow, shut down by G2. Fnatic with support, Fnatic, are you kidding me? They're crushing through the fight, it's all eyes on both teams locked up. Cousin blows were too much for him to deal with, the triple kill for Nemesis. Hell of a rough early game, but what a turnaround for the boy in the mid.
Stakes are high. No playoffs, no worlds. Spring success will not carry your summer this time. Everything comes down to these final matches. Will Fnatic finally overcome their own demons? Can G2 focus their efforts and find the form that brought them to the top of the table time after time? For these heroes, there is no way around each other. One must win, one must fall.
Wow, Europe's biggest legendary names, figures within the competitive League of Legends scene, and both fumbling in their backpack for a remedy to a season that has spiraled out of control. Frosk, I mean, and this is getting problematic at this stage, and now they face off for a spot perhaps in playoffs.
I mean, these are two teams that are now getting desperate, you know? It's so close packed between 3rd and 9th place in our league at the moment that a match like this is going to be crucial when it comes to playoffs at the end, and this matchup just feels different to me this time. Of course, you know, you say they have fallen off, but it also just feels so unpredictable to me because both teams have good games and both teams have absolutely abysmal games. And I came into this week thinking Fnatic looked good. Yesterday, they were garbage, and G2 actually put on an insane performance.
I think that's what's really concerning about this one is that for the longest time, Fnatic's biggest rivalry has been G2, and this time Fnatic's biggest rivalry is Fnatic.
Yeah.
Like, they are just running it down right now. They look like a complete mess in the comms. That was one of the worst Bard performances that I've ever seen from Hilly. Selfmade and Hilly were not on the same page, so I have absolutely no idea what Fnatic are going to look like.
And we've been waiting this entire split for the wake-up call, for one of these teams to double down and say, like, these are issues, we're going to grind them out, and we're going to get better. And that hasn't happened yet, and it's getting to a point in the season where it is too late, and it has to come
Do
now.
you truly believe that Fnatic haven't outlined the problems in the problems that at this stage in the season that they are truly just seeing what sticks?
Fnatic are a team that has historically had problems and not gone in and tried to fix them. They've waited till next year and then made roster changes.
I saw a fan on Reddit and they just asked the question, how can a team of professional League of Legends players who have played together for X amount of time look this bad? Like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was the sentiment of they can't comprehend how these players can look so disconnected and you know, uncompetitive at times.
And I think, so I do agree with that sentiment, but I think that this is a conversation now that's like heavily skewed towards Fnatic, whereas even if you look at the other side at G2, the reason why is like you can kind of put your finger on what's wrong with Fnatic. It's very clear in the eye test that they are just not synced together, whereas I think G2 is a little bit harder to figure out. There's individual performance missteps, and there's also just terrible reads on the meta. They themselves said that they are trying to figure out what their style is going to be, what champions are going to be working for them, and it's still very hit and miss. G2 ran a strategy yesterday that were just like, we're going to be all early game all the time, and they did just kind of brute force their opponents, but that hasn't been working for the majority of summer. So even though G2 technically look better going into this matchup this time around, nothing has shown me that G2 have actually fixed their problems. They could walk into this match, draft a complete dumpster fire, and end up with two really terrible teams just trying not to be worse than the other.
And I assume the caveat as well is the fact that this rivalry, you heard from Reckless, these losses hurt more than any other. G2 Fnatic, there is a rivalry there. Is it safe to assume the draft and the gameplay itself will have a different flavor because it is these two going head to head?
It always will. And I think in this game, like, both teams have had their struggles, but there are two constants for me. One, on G2's side, Caps performs game after game after game, and G2 are going to play around that. On the other, Fnatic Reckless is having the split of his career.
Not just European fans, not just G2 fans, and not just Fnatic fans. We need these two teams to bring out the best of each other. That's what I want out of this match of the week. I don't care if it's like the highest level of League of Legends like Mad Lions or Rogue. I just want to see these two, their rivalry, that fire, that will to beat each other. Please bring them back to life.
That's gorgeous, Froskurinn. Am I going to run with that? We're going to keep that one. This is a defibrillator game. Your stars of the show did not show up, and it is time to resuscitate. One of them has to head and set sights on playoffs, at least for our hopes and dreams at Worlds. For now, though, let's check out the games on the docket today, and it all builds up to our match of the week to close things out. So we have got Schalke up against Origen, one to look forward to for a whole lot of reasons. We'll touch on that later. But which is jumping off the page to you?
Excel versus Misfits. This is playoffs implications right here, because right now both these teams are right on the edge, and they're playing against a direct competitor today. The winner has an excellent shot of making playoffs. The loser is looking at next week like, wow, I got some tough games coming up. This is going to be rough.
I mean, basically, we have 3 games today that are like direct playoff implications, and then you have kind of the 2 lopsided games here where if SK or if Vitality do manage to take down one of our 2 top dogs and get like a miracle win, then suddenly they're like, oh my god, I think I just made playoffs by beating Rogue or Mad Lions.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most unpredictable season of LEC ever, and anything can happen over these last 4 games. So we've been looking at some key teams and want to know which of them makes playoffs. We've got Misfits, Origen, SK, or Excel. So first up, who would you like to vote off of the island? We've got Excel or Misfits. I'm looking at you. I'm not talking to these guys anymore. You know, we talked about their uniform. I don't even know what uniform you're wearing today. Probably
Hopefully
a box of shorts and some Dorito crumbs. But respect to you, and you can still type. So let us know. Misfits or Excel, who are we kicking off the island? I think Misfits have been a bit cheeky this season. I'm not so sure if I want them on the island anymore.
Okay. Do you want Misfits or do you want me?
I'm taking Misfits.
Spam in chat, guys. You need to spam Misfits or you need to spam Excel in chat.
Yeah, because so the first thing that draws my eyes here is both these teams right neck and neck with each other in the standings.
Yes.
So what are the games that are coming up? Of course, they play each other today, and that's going to be the biggest one. But after that, you have an OG, a Fnatic, a G2 for Excel. Those teams, not easy teams to beat at this point in time. Yes, they are not as strong as they once were, but Excel is still looking uphill at those two teams. And it's the same for Mad Lions when they face it's the same for Misfits when they face Mad and G2. But that last game of the split, Vitality, that is a free win.
Misfits are actually facing good teams, Vitality and Mad Lions. We just talked about how Fnatic and G2 don't even know what League of Legends looks like, and everyone's like, Origen could actually fall out of playoffs at this point. Excel have the head-to-head over Vitality. They have the head-to-head over SK. If they beat Misfits, they will be tied 1-1 with Misfits, so that is a split head-to-head. I think Excel have a much clearer path to victory here.
And I think that's fair, but you look at the performance yesterday, too. Excel looked terrible. They did nothing the entire game.
You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your breath.
Or did Schalke look amazing?
Both. Look, I'm sorry. It looks like the votes are in. 57%. We keep Excel. Excuse me, wait. Who's leaving the island? We're kicking Excel off the island.
What?
Misfits
No.
fight to the finish. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So we do have a survivor. Misfits, they fight on in this fictional game show that we are attempting to make up on the spot. So we now have got our winner. We have Misfits, and they now take on SK. So who will be the weakest link?
Okay.
Dum, dum, dum. I don't know how Weakest Link goes. I used to watch that
Guys,
6 p.m. with my tea.
I think we got a little bit confused here. I think you thought that you wanted Excel to stay, so you were spamming Excel in the chat, and now Misfits have stayed. Now, this is what we need to do. Spam Misfits, because there's no way in hell they're going to take the spot over SK. Crown Shot, SK, Crown Shot. You want Crowny to go on?
They have got a ridiculous schedule, though. This is number
this is
2.
not easy.
Yeah,
G2.
They're way up in the standings.
Okay, yeah, that's
They've got,
something.
Like, the game buffer.
Yeah, they have a 1-game buffer, but I'm looking, if we're saying that Misfits took out Excel, they win that game. So that game buffer is gone because SK, are they really beating Rogue today,
But then they've got Mad
people?
Lions and
No
G2.
way.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, but then this is the game.
Okay.
That's the win. SK over here is like G2. That's tough. OG, that's the one that you can probably mix up here. But again, I don't feel like they'd be able to carry it.
Well, you guys have made your opinion clear. I'll tell you that much. 70% of you have just gone and called Misfits the weakest link, which leaves us with our final and most important question. It is, who's left? We've got our victor, SK Gaming, going up against Origen. And so now I turn to you and ask, what is your final answer? Let me know.
You guys may be asking, you may be thinking, wait, that's not Vitality. Why is Origen even in this? Because Origen have slipped underneath the radar. No one even realizes that they could actually not make playoffs. In fact, when we do the breakdown, Origen have one of the lowest chances of making it into playoffs.
And yet, that is when you're factoring in it's like a 50% chance of winning a game, because you look at SK's upcoming 4 games next to Origen's. Origen's games on paper are the easiest remaining. Now, I'm not going to go out here and say that Schalke are an easy team to beat right now, because they are playing quite well. But Origen have the ability to have their own destiny in their hands, right? Well, ish. Jack Troll. Excel, SK, those are teams that they can and should be able to beat here.
Guys. I know that you love Crown Shot. I know that you think that SK is like the superior team, but Alphari versus Genax. Alphari is the clear winner here. If they just give Alphari the champion, he can 1v9.
Just keep turning around, Endo. Yeah, really breathe that one in.
What is this? Alphari!
You guys hate Origen.
Trevor's not happy.
You guys seriously think a rookie mid laner is going to take down Nukdug? It's going to take his spot from playoffs.
Look, I get it.
That upset is going to lose to Crown Shot.
I get it. Crowny is like 3 players combined, but that's not enough to win.
Guys, I'm going to calm you down for a second, because this is the cool Chris Tarrant impression I've been working on. I came into the studio 4 hours early for this.
Okay.
So
you were 30 minutes late. But
yeah, and I'm executing this poorly. Hey, whoa, throwing me under the bus with a shirt like that? Jesus. Either way, is that your final answer? I don't know why. Does he do that? He didn't do a walk-up. Anyway, that's the end of my segment, and we are done with the results. You guys have freaked out Trevor. He's calming down. And to set the stakes for today's games, he's over at the playoff checkup.
I cannot believe you voted Origen off the island. Thank you to the fans for helping set the scene here. I do want to take a moment to share some important information about playoffs. I also need to teach Alex how stage lighting works. If you don't make playoffs, you don't make Worlds. It's that simple. The top 4 European teams will be going to Worlds after the summer playoffs. And in terms of teams that are already locked into the postseason, Mad Lions and Rogue are actually guaranteed top 3. Now that's because Fnatic, G2, and SK all still have games against each other, and no more than one of these teams can get to 11 wins. If Mad Lions and Rogue win today, they guarantee top 2. Now, to understand implications for playoffs, championship points need to be taken into account. The top 6 teams from Summer advance to playoffs and then are seeded into the playoff bracket based on their spring plus Summer championship points combined. To highlight the importance of championship points, we've sold ties in our current standings by placement in spring. Therefore, for this very specific scenario, you'll see that G2 is ahead of Fnatic and SK. Importantly, as the analysts have already said, if Mad get first, they auto-qualify for Worlds due to the way the playoff bracket works. You'll notice that they'll have the highest championship points at 190. They will be seeded first into the top of the bracket, and at a minimum, they will place 4th. That's even if they lose all of their BO5s. And placing 4th as a European seed gets you to Worlds. A lot is still at stake for everyone that is not Mad Lions and Rogue, and no one else is yet locked in or locked out, yet. Now, as we look at the schedule for today, I want you to consider that there are over 1 million possible scenarios left, assuming 50-50 odds of victory. And of course, with every game that drops, it'll go 560,000, 270,000, etc., etc. I'm going to start by looking at OG versus Schalke. Out of those million scenarios, Origen advanced to playoffs in 48% of them. Obviously, it's simple. Win more games, you increase your odds. Just as a side note, I find it very ironic that Schalke 04 only advance in 4% of the scenarios. Wow. Someone scripted that. Let's take a look at XL and Misfits. XL advance with 49% of the scenarios, and if they beat Misfits today, that 49% jumps to 71. Conversely, if they lose, it drops to 17. Misfits currently 40% of scenarios with a win, 63 with a loss to 28. The surprise for me, looking at SK Gaming, 77% of those million scenarios gets them in. And finally, I want to touch base on G2. 71% of scenarios, G2 lock playoffs. 84% of scenarios, Fnatic 2. If I didn't give you percentages for a team that you are interested in, please check out the LOL Esports Stats Twitter account for the full table. And also, take a look at the special series of tweets that are dedicated to the Schalke 04 Miracle Run. 4% of the odds, and what needs to happen for them to make it. I'm on board the Schalke Miracle Run hype train, and I want them to win Worlds. Back on track, though, are you paying attention to Rogue? Remember that they can lock 2 with the win today. This is my final note before I leave. I know it's a lot. If they are able to get ahead of the Mad Lions before the end of the summer season, they are guaranteed Worlds. We've not said this. It's the forgotten first place team. I haven't forgotten about them. 160 points would tie them with G2 Esports, but because we value Summer higher, they would guarantee first. Now, of course, Rogue would get that auto qualification. Be sure to keep a close eye on ready checks for more playoff checkups like this. But as and when more teams are confirmed in or confirmed out, expect the Shoutcasters in-game to keep you up to date. It's time to see if Origen can increase their odds of making the postseason as they take on Schalke. Not all my stats are rubbish.
Most of them are.
Yeah, now Quickshot has to make a quick run to the caster desk. For
Thanks,
now, though,
Dad.
we'll see if Origen can end the losing streak today. They're facing Schalke, and we've got not too much time, so let's try and hit all of the nails on the head that we want to. Origen,
I mean, that's a long path to the caster desk. We could actually, there's a good 4 minutes here. He's old.
And people don't know that Trevor has to do like intermittent roly-polies with every 4 or 5 steps. It's like this kind of weird thing he's trying. And moving away from the gymnastics of your co-host and in towards the game, Origen behind us.
Yes.
Now, I know you haven't been, singing the praises of Jack Troll, and they brought him in, they brought him out, shaking him all about. It hasn't worked.
It's funny because the first week I was like, they brought him in for some very specific reasons, and he hit all of those. They wanted someone that would make plays, that would help in the shot calling, and also level up the 2v2 lane. And that final point is where the biggest failure has happened from Origen's 2 versus 2, because in the last week and a half, it has not improved. As a matter of fact, Jack Troll has been actively harming that 2v2, and that's a massive burden because Upset is such a talented player. If he can't get through the laning phase, he can't carry.
Yeah, I think the issue is that I don't think that Jack Troll is the problem for Origen, but he's not solving the problems that they previously had. I think that this meta, they really haven't found the champions that are working for them. Again, credit to Alphari and Upset, and then you kind of have peak performances from Nutak or Xerxes, and the biggest issue is that I've yet to see all 5 players really stand up simultaneously, which is why they're in such a tough situation to begin with.
So on one side of the coin, you have some doubt and some players that do need to fill in the gaps. On the other side of things, we've got Schalke and FLICKR, who, memes aside, have actually been going relatively comfortably. I mean, was it now 3 in a row?
Yeah, so while OG have lost their last 3 games, Schalke have won their last 3 games. So they are absolutely on a roll ever since bringing in God Gilius. And it does feel like it is a very different story for this team because I think Gilius came in and gave them that spark in the early game, and then we saw other players around him also level up through the split. Abadage yesterday was an absolute monster on his Zoe, absolutely like getting around in the fights, dealing the damage, playing it very well on a mechanical level. And if he's stepping up, that's going to be a big deal for Schalke.
Yeah, well, big deals are exactly where we're going now, because kicking off the day,